or goods and services by a Limted Care Services Limited in UK 2018 now. Well, since 2012, 14, so 2012, 13, 14, there's been so much gone on. There's 2 area offices, and the former known area office was Area UK. I'm just trying to show you the head office of Limted Care Services Limited. And basically, there is Caroline Kurz as a former director, Fiona Seymour, former director. Area supervisor, well, don't know what her job was meant to be, but she wasn't. Her and a female was called Caroline on offers trying to get me to sign a contract with them on my own on a Sunday evening in my home, being rejected. Now, this went to head office on the 3rd of the 10th, 2014, 6th of the 10th, 2014. Yeah, and the 2 area offices. Okay, so you just saw the company's house. There's no contract. So a copy went off to Adult Health Social Care Director at the time, Northamptonshire County Council Head Office, County Hall, and also the youngest of the adults team, a female called Stephanie. Well, by the way, if you want to offer anything now and put things right, I seek full remedy. Right, I do not consent to, because of this, what's gone on and the harm and the breach of my data. We're going on some dates here. 17th of the 10th, 2014, 20th of the 10th, 2014, 31st of the 7th, 2014, 10th of the 11th was the last correspondence, 2014. You failed. Absolutely failed. Julie, Stephanie, Jacqueline, 3 principal social worker, they call themselves at the time, failed lawful duty of care to disabled women. And I didn't know what my rights are when I started looking and found a piece of documentation. And this is what led to the disability hate, and it's been going on ever since 2013, up to date, by a certain female. As Charlotte, a female, assumption was made on an email to a female called Julie on 3rd of October 2012 about me, my private life. And she worked for the YA South team then. And so obviously this counterclaim went back out as a complaints department, unlawful, unproven, hearsay, assumption being made about me. This is a female carer that was off duty in town. And my 2 friends got me up and had to do an urgent matter. And they were private friends, nothing to do with nobody else. But at Limted Care Services Limited, took it on assumption that whatever that female off duty reported about me to a female called a care supervisor, Caroline, specialty support serve herself. And if they're still in operation, I don't consent to any of the same individuals, so I require full information, full disclosure who these individuals are before you offer me displacement from my home yet again, like you did in 2012. Okay. And that's been fully rebutted. I didn't know I still have these documents, because if you don't realise that the LGSS, legal government shared services transactions, the financial team, I mean, they're all lawyers on behalf of. They want to sign your documentation, do you? And send out a documentation. Well, there's nothing in now. The system is the Care Act 2014, statute law, financial assessment. Well, you didn't offer anyone assistance on that. Well, my former lawyer had to, on behalf of my sister at the time, a documentation when I was harmed. And Went to the complaints team, and this was called a Katie Brown at the time, John Dryden House, 8 to 10 The Lakes in Northampton, UK. And the director signed it, LGSS Law Limited, on behalf of the County Council of the Destroyers in Birmingham. Dated the 2nd of August 2012. You see, things that when I got displaced from my home, the first care company went bust. The lies of a public servant said, oh, unless I go with them to a emergency placement care home, the blackmail wording, I won't repeat. And basically, I didn't know what my rights were then, I soon started learning. 3 different placements. This is why I will not consent to the 3 placements I ended up, because I ended up having serious crime happen again in my home by an ex-male friend I thought would help me in my home, because nobody considered how I was going to look after my own flat while I'm not here to carry on paying the bills and everything I'm responsible for. Yeah, so my sister and the lawyer at the time had to fight tooth and nail to get me home. Yeah. So that last place I went wasn't a respite. It was a rehabilitation placement run by limted Care Services Limited over in Corby. You wouldn't believe how much CCTV they got. I don't know what it's like now, but there's monopoly all over this area for this company running everything. How can you guarantee that it's not going to be the same people involved? So, the abuse happened by, in my own, key ones. On the rota, I've got a copy in front of me. Right, it was sent over to proof of fact, first-hand knowledge, what was happening to me on my own. Typed up, by the way. And I require now a choice, an advance notification, any goods and services. By the way, I require my choice of care company, my choice of how I'm being cared for, not like the old system. And if you can't offer that in full disclosure without it's meant to be choices, the way it works now, the outcomes of things. Well, let's hope there is, because I won't tolerate this again. And I'm trying to move on, but if you're pushing these same people who are still employed, and one of the emails recently came back by a public servant, there's disability hate, I tell you, disability discrimination, constantly things are going on, disinformation, and they're not giving any information what's factual. So basically, a Carol Bell, Bell B, whatever, I don't know if it's the real information anyway, but just assumption, just call it Carol B. And she did verbally abuse me in the public and shopping calls, and also in my own home. And in front, you see, when it's 2 females against you in your own bloody own home, they're going to believe 2 females against you when you're a vulnerable disabled woman or man. This abuse goes on. They cover it all up. There's a Sally O, Carol K. Carol K didn't give a monkeys about personal care, equality of care, duty of care. Debbie brushed her teeth at the time. I've got a witness. My old friend used to visit me. She saw me choking, going blue. And the 2 females, the Carol B and Debbie, behind me, didn't care that I was choking on the uncooked food. And if it wasn't for my learning disability friend, coming up behind me, known first aid, how to, squash my chest and get that thing stuck in my throat out of me, I would have died. And those 2 females just stood behind me in my wheelchair. And even, it's amazing how my friend still remembers all that recently. And she witnessed it all. That's just one, a few instances, there's not more. The abuse of my data was a Stacey. Yeah. She knew the female in 2013, apparently, ex-care leaver, moved in above me. 2013, that started. Disability hate ever since my data was breached. Former neighbour still lives here, but he's just really gone strange towards me. Anyway, he witnessed what was said and how it happened, and I reported it as a complaint, breach of data. Ever since then, the campaign of disability hate towards me by that female, before she had children, by her mum, bigger in my area, and that's what it's all about on that side. And let me put that down so I don't show any data that you don't want to show. So I did try and hold people accountable. I did everything lawful. And if you want me to engage and work with people now, this is the reason why I will not consent to, on a temporary basis, on a choice of a different care placement in the immediate time to get these offer services, but not by this thinking care company because of what's happened to me before. When they were trying to offer me a reassessment of community care services, 19th of 9th, 2014, right? The type letter was sent 12th of 11th, 2014. All detailed everything that went on, and we sent 20th of 10th, 2014, and detailed everything like what happened to my bloody own. So what you're meant to do, Winnie, I've got all these proof of postings. The really good old carers, right? Really good ones. What was happening was they pushed new people onto me in my own home. I'm bedbound, and I don't even know who they are. What's meant to have happened, right, was you get slowly introduced to new people, okay? On a shopping call, for example. That's what I always had to believe. It never happened. So they kept pushing new people on me in the morning, you know, and on medication, and say, all these years on, how do I know it's not going to happen again? They kept pushing these new females onto me, Sherry, Nikki, Mel, and that's how they kept rushing. It's not even a bloody rota. A rota could have been written by anybody. It's just there's a document off the computer without any logo and written in pencil and not in the last information of these females. So Stacey, I've got here. Stacey was like one of the supervisors. You know, she was so much very pally with the supervisor, and she got promotion. And how do I know it not? She's not a manager now, somewhere in the system. She's the one that breached my data and nobody got held accountable. I can't show you. This is just a blank rota. It's just initials. Just, you don't get the surname. I mean, the very good people that really did care, the soon got rid of them. Kathy was very good at her job, and the soon got rid of them. They would appoint females on the evening call and the very next morning, and they would place things around my own. My mates had to set up and come in and check, and they started moving up, and my mate moved up to the area and got a job in a certain job and a certain environment, and she's got medical and specific training, and that's what led to all the staff had to cancel a lot of calls because these females had less than 2 weeks training manhandling, and I'll get dropped off a hoist. I mean, you wouldn't believe. I got the paperwork evidence right in front of me. So I sent that back. I sent these copies of evidence as a lawful complaint for the harm that's happening to me in my own home. And nobody got out of it. So we're going on all these, how many proof of postings I've got. I've got the 4th of the 6th, 2018. Who did this go to? Dryden House, Kerner Council. Right. Who's this other one? Caroline Ritchie. Right, Sarah Ansell. Okay, so that went to as a lawful complaint. That was the 11th of the 10th, 2014. They took no notice. You got these people that pay to do a bloody paid or supposed to do a job. Okay, so I went and took this up with the social worker. Okay, I'm going to show you that with you. I write to, I know you can't read my writing, but Caroline Kirst It went off to Stephanie Langford. It went on to the head of director of Northamptonshire County Council at the time. They had a different location. And to offer me choice and control. Company's House, you can check it out yourself. And if there's any offer services, I did everything. I followed all the lawful process. I mean, where are we now? We've got a copy that's date of this one, 20th the 8th, 2014. Delivered 21st of the 8th, 2014. And you had this proof. All this got resent. I don't know. It went to, in my area, UK, Care Management Department. Again, this public servant blanked it. I'm not going to be ambushed by a female. And this went off to the LGSS Law Department as well. So when they block your complaints and you're trying, they call you a vulnerable disabled individual, right? To offer, I can't even believe this. I found this. This is what they tried to block me access to this data. But I found it anyway. Why should you have to end up experiencing serious disability hate? You don't get a letter by the police, to uphold a disability hate crime. You don't get offered victim support letter if you haven't experienced a disabled hate crime. Got all these documents in front of me. And then because the seriousness of the crimes, because I'm bloody traumatised by it all. That's Wands Area Police, right? This is 25th September 2013, and it was going on 2014. And then what happened with that? Because I had a report what a female above me is given to me, and what that Stacey did. I breached my data that led to disabled hate, the comments, actions, and able witness to what was said about me, right? And this housing company, still going on. Constantly been targeting me to push me out my own home. That's what they helped me pay my home for over a year now, the wet room. And my son at the time did his best to try and protect me. And instead, he got also targeted. He had to move away in the end. And they lied about me ever since. So you public servants want to offer me anything? Well, I want a remedy. What you, not you individuals now, but previously have absolutely breached. Maladministration is called in statute law. And you make sure the local government ombudsman, now called Social Healthcare Ombudsman, blocks my lawful complaint. Yeah, what happened last year as well? This is why my private friends had to step in at the end of 2014 ever since, to protect my life. So what, you dare question me now? And then you're up in hospital last year, you see. And I sought clarification what could be offered now. Caused nothing. It's nothing going to be lawful. It never is going to be lawful. They don't want anybody in my situation to be, the questions that's been asked of me. It's just so evil. This female called Elizabeth, right? She calls me up in hospital when I just had a suspected heart attack and stroke again. Okay? Last year. And yet she's the very one I've got documentation of here. My handwritten notes, so bear with me. I can't share the information, just say there's above on this presumption sticking up for the female number 9 when they're not first-hand witness to everything. I am, and I'll report it straight away to the police. Ever since then, she's got, obviously, due respect to the children, I've got video evidence. I've got, not of the kids, just of that blinking visitors doing things, just parking in my bay, deliberately using other people to do it and other visitors. It's all psychological. I know all this now, but at the time I didn't know. It's all psychological tactics, you see. But I know much more now. And I'm more conscious now to move on carefully and lawfully. So, you want to offer me something now? Don't offer me anything to do with my personal care in my life by Olympus Care Services Limited. Only if you want to offer me the OT assessments in a different location, not run by Olympus Care, then we'll consider that. But then, if it's going to be OTs, say joint NHS funded perhaps, and also perhaps you think there's only the OTs, well, I'd like to see a better way of working this time. Because I like to move on with my life. I don't want to dwell on the past. But you want to say, I can't access my own data. Well, I have found all my data. I've found all the evidence. I've got grounds to sue. 6 years to bring a personal injury claim. And it's not 6 years up yet. 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, well, maybe. That's why you're doing this now, perhaps. Well, let's go on for 2014 then. 15, 16, 17, 18. Got 1 year to bring a claim. And I will consider that. If you do not do things right, it's not a threat. It's absolutely my lawful right. If someone's had personal injury and mental harm, and it's all got proven because I've got the documents of evidence, I've typed everything up at the time, and now I've lost the ability to type. You see, there are really good people out there. And when I really got on with them in my home, I'm going to show you this. Yeah, Stacey, I've got it here. 10th of the 9th, 2014. Female called Stacey. They kept pushing. You do not offer people in their own home when they're vulnerable. New people. What happens if they got dementia? They might not know. You hear about horror stories in care homes, don't you, in the UK? But what about people in their own homes? I wish to goodness this never happened. And I can't turn the clock back, and I can't, you know. And this led to you causing me almost losing my own. How can you do that? I'm making things up. What is an off-duty female employee doing nosing about my private life when it's nothing to do with her? She's off duty, and you still go run to like that. Look, it's like a blinking playground kind of behaviour where an individual runs to the employee she works for, but she's off duty, and she allegedly sees me in the town centre. We're going even back 2012, and this is a former public servant. And they still put it on their record. What was all that about? Nobody wrote to me and said, they just made up assumption. I got this out of my data protection. And I ain't going to go into it now. I think there's a storm coming in. It's getting all dark suddenly. And it's just a shame the way they bloody made things up even then. Because they didn't like the fact that I knew absolutely how to get home, you know, to get out of their system. And when I heard in a recent email, when it was claimed as well on the phone by so-called care advocate, right, about the start team, I knew exactly who they are. The right way to offer is a Northamptonshire NHS Foundation Trust. And they have all different departments, intermediate care team, right? And they could do it that way. And they could assess your needs that way. They have their occupational therapists, they have their assessment services, but because of this place is not repaired, they will class their staff will be at risk, health and safety. Yeah, so where the hell do I go? It's not my fault this place isn't bloody repaired, the wet room. The way I have to be cared, the way I'm coping now, well, not coping actually, but the way they do things, what's going on here, it's deliberate, leaving me without use of a wet room for the housing company. But you see, if you have these females in their job position all them years ago, how do I know they're not still employed? Has any current public servants, employees I'm dealing with, you know you are, investigated this? No, because your job cases are too high. too pressurised. You don't want to know. So, it's too blinking hot. It's a lawful duty of care. So, that's why I wrote to all these years, this male GP in my area, right, all these years, is, oh hiya girl, how are you today? You're right, it's bloody gone dark here. How you been doing yourself lately? Princess Warrior. Thumbs up, check her channel out. Yes, I guess it is Princess Warrior. Let me turn this light on, well, a light on, because it's too hot where I am in the UK at the moment. I'm taking on information. Years ago when I got abused, good, abused by females that worked for that company. I want to cover up the names of these people so I don't breach their data. And then it led to me thumbprint seal when I used to do my documents. And it led to particular females I took on. This is my area. Those people there. And I think they're all changed now, but these people in 2012, they messed me about for years, and I've been trying to actually get offers of goods and services now and making sure the people that abuse me in my own home are not going to be offered to me now. I found some documents basically that nothing seems to be changed, and everything I've done lawfully over the years, and it led to this is in UK. Right, that's 2014, it's meant to say, is my handwriting in the way. And it's disabled hate crime. And then what goes on, this is like, they call it a rota. This is a piece of paper with loads of female names on. And what they used to do was, not everyone, but key ones would abuse me in my own. So you don't get a victim support by referral by the police if you don't experience a crime. And so yeah, they work closely. This is just found a copy from 18th of August a few years ago, and this led down basically again the campaign for years since 2013, 14, 2018 now, aren't we, to that female that is above me. Oh, pure hatred and using her family and visitors, and that happened today twice. I've got a video of it. You're just as sad, isn't it, when people want to resort to that. So basically, over the years, I basically I studied contract law. So this is my typed document in front of me. And I went to hold key puppet servants accountable then. And I find out this company is being pushed on me again. Can you believe that, all these years on? And how can a social worker for disabled people in UK guarantee that you're not going to be dealing with the same people that already caused you harm? And so how can I be guaranteed that these puppet servants are now in a new building, but still rebranded a different name, in different departments, are not the same people that caused me harm before, in their decision-making policies. And what they used to do, not sure it's any different or any less, or I don't know. It's what's going on. It looks like it's going downhill again. But when I was offered, this is my documentation, I found the evidence of. They tried to block me access to my data, but I found it anyway. This is last year, they tried to block my data. And I reported everything that happened to me. I mean, the verbal abuse, what would happen in my home, 2 females against me, then the physical harm in my home. So I reported everything. I reported everything to the correct channels, and nobody, not one carer, got held accountable. And they kept pushing it ended up about 17 different females a week. That's 7 days a week, 3 times a day. And then they started pushing on me new females I didn't know, and I'm not decent in my bed, you know, can't walk, high mental care, and so of course that's psychologically does your head in. So this was a report, a complaint, and this is like a proof of post in the UK, and that was dated 11th of the 8th 2014 at the time. And it was trying to get offered my own funding. It's called, its statute law at the time, SDS, and they blocked it. And then they tried to offer me reassessment. And principal care manager, younger sub-adults team at the time, she ran after me in the street when I already sent documentation to reject the offer, and until they can provide the full disclosure and offer me why they blocked the funding, my choice of control, before I consent to a meeting. But they never offered me my choice location. They offered it me in a building that's not accessible for my needs, and they called it younger adults and transition team at the time. It's all rebranded a different department, and now they've cut back. They deliberately cut back. Well, not deliberately, but it's happening all over the UK. But they've cut the funding in a department, and if I end up in hospital last year, I won't be going back to them. I tell you that now. So this is why all these years, since 2014, at the end of the year, my friends took over. I had to find them. They were fed up with me getting abused of my own. And witnesses by this at the time, my neighbours weren't as bad as they are now, apart from a certain one still going on. But they witnessed things that's happened and breached my personal data. That started off the hate. Pure hatred. What's wrong with people? Pure evil, isn't it? Anyway, so this offer, what they called a review assessment, and this was dated 23rd September 2014. I didn't consent, and I rejected it on the provide the proof that they can provide a full investigation into what I reported and make clear. So the hearsay claims being made by certain public servants, and I proved. Yeah, I know. It's just I don't want to dig up the old past. Thanks, Principal Roy. I don't want to dig up the past. But how can you move on? There's no guarantees in life, I know that. But how can you move on to trust these very public servants that are still operating as a business now? They're still business. They're still, I don't know, the same people working, obviously, with the company, but they're still got monopoly in all over my area. So I don't like to dig up the past, but the way things are happening, the way things are doing, I mean, they're just not giving any disabled man or woman. I don't know if it's only me, but it comes across like that. So because they won't repair my own, oh, you need to go into a temporary place. But yeah, if it's not run by this company, because I do not consent to bumping in to the same individuals that harmed me in such a serious way that I've not recovered. And this is why I don't consent. I've even told these public servants in my area, in writing and emails and bloody in the meetings. And you know what? Unfortunately, what they like to do is re-traumatise you. So, what you have, I mean, you wouldn't even believe what rotor. I mean, this is not a rotor. I mean, this is just me. I had to cancel out loads of calls. They put it in pencil. Look how many calls I had to cancel by the 10th of the 9th, 2014 at the time. Because they kept pushing on me, people I didn't even know, and I'm in bed. And the anxiety it's causing me, and they didn't give a shite. And I just returned it, no consent, and this is when my friends started taking over. And good job they started getting the jobs in the profession, and this is what's been like it. And God forbid I've ended up in hospital. There's certain, I know it's in red and crossed out, but it wasn't even on official logo, a document, and I didn't even sign a contract with this company or their department or any of these people. That's why I studied law and certain subjects ever since. So, and now I end up in hospital, bad luck, because an old lawyer I had and my sister had to get me home. Yeah, this is what I'm in the middle of trying to do. I don't want to dig up the past, you see. Thank you. Just gonna, yeah, thanks, Prince Roy. I know it's hard, but sometimes holding on to the past can affect your future. It's true, and you've got to let go. And that's a very hard thing to do, isn't it? For me, I find it extremely hard, and this is what I'm trying to do. But it's like, if you're faced with the same people that's harmed you before and they're doing the same actions, this is a concern I have, you see. Because I know from people meant to be honourable in their dealings and their truth, I already proved the truth perhaps both parties already. But what's been going on in my area? Yeah. And it's knowing, that's the dilemma I've got. I don't know if anyone else experience similar situation. Because my friends can't cope and they're struggling, right? And end up in hospital. And this is the only reason why I'd sought to see what could happen now. You know, what's available now, what's the system like now. And it's like my sister, right, she means well. But I did a long stream earlier. There's a lot of stuff we go through in life. And I'm in the middle of doing this long documentation. And these public servants know. When people in my position are going through so much, they know there's not a lot of choice. We have freedom of choice, but when you're stuck with no funds and no access to network or support or family support around you, they know. They just know certain things. And it's like, when you're looking at, you can't change your past, but past experiences and some things still stuck in your mindset say, now how can these key public servants stop abusing disabled people and do things right this time? That's the kind of, perhaps, there's no reassurance. You know, emails, there's no reassurance. Yeah, I'm not settling, you're right. I'm just trying to make the situation better. Absolutely right. And the frustrating bit is that absolutely right, Princess Warrior. There's certain individuals that I've been dealing with, and it's obvious what's going on. And yet, there are cuts in funding if I don't accept what they're trying to do, but they keep rushing it. There's nothing accessible format, like I need to record a meeting, okay? And I've offered a cassette tape recorder, you know, two, like old-fashioned type ones. So the individual will have a copy right there at the meeting. I got a copy, and nothing untoward's going on, right? And they're just blocking my human rights on this, and they got no authority. But the fact is that I'm dealing with other subjects, which obviously is like in UK you got if you need to pay your bills and stuff, you get the benefits. Don't know what it's called, Social Security in America, and that's unfortunately my position. And dealing with that particular other changes in UK, it's really affecting disabled people. It's called Department of Works and Pensions, and it's called Oh, the new one, it's really doing my head in. It's 40 pages long. And today, that's what took all my day up again. I got no up-to-date medical information to put in documentation. Because I don't know why. I really don't know why. Since 2011, there's nothing they can do and operate on my body to make me, I can't be cured in my physical disabilities. Okay, so I'm always going to be like this. So now that's why I'm trying to move on. Unfortunately, when you're faced with doing these documentation, there's nothing new I can provide. You know, and the concern is this particular assessment documentation. It's called 2014 Stature Act Care Act. Is very detailed. And until they complete it and do a report, they were going to use that and help me use that as full detailed evidence for this. It's in short, it's called PIP Form 2. And then a social worker, well, they keep messing me about. They keep saying emails saying, oh, it's not my job role to make this phone call. Oh, it's not my job role to do this. Well, bloody hell, what is? So there's too many chiefs, i.e. too many management, instead of ordinary people just helping people like me. Yeah, can you do that for me? Excuse me. Not again. Yeah, it's alright. I got a friend of mine. It's fine. She left this bloody thing on too long. Anyway, I'm going to cut it off in a minute. It's blinking a nightmare, really. So there's no point having this. You're right. I can't go back on what's happened. And I just hope to God. Frustrating, isn't it? You know, I hope to goodness. I mean, I don't like all this blinking stuff that's happened. I can't change what's happened, but people never got held accountable, and I suffered harm. And they're going to try in these emails, oh, we can push on this start team. You see, short term, whatever the label they've got, whatever title it is, it's the same company that did their employees. They cannot guarantee, these public servants, they cannot guarantee. This Olympics Care Services Limited has not got the same people that harmed me in my bloody own home. And because they're cutting corners and the cutbacks now, all these years on, I've got so many bloody tried to hold them accountable before. Lawful. And because of failures in duty of care, kept everything banged right on. And what was at the time, there were 3 days, 3 females a day and 6 females a day. So it's 2 females 3 times a day, 7 days a week, yeah. But there was never, ever, ever, and these females were trespassing. And I was always trying to offer, it's called at the time, self-direct support, national statute law. And still, when I found out that my data got breached in between everything else, it's just unreal. Now the adult social care services as a company, still as a company, but statute law in UK. Basically, the last individual I dealt with well. Let me just put what I think of a monkeys that I experience this disability hate, and they are fraudulent, absolutely fraudulent. And the assumption that I consented, which was null and void. I didn't do that. I didn't consent to nothing. And the deceptive measures are happening again, but in a different way. And so the assumptions now, well, if you're doing things already before and you're doing things negative now, well, there isn't. I mean, you get comments, oh, I'm trying this, I'm trying that, but I know what things are meant to happen in reality, and thousands of people like me, and it's not. But the crisis in the United Kingdom, the care system, means that people are being left in dangerous situations, and then that leads on to the housing. I mean, when my son at the time in 2013 tried to uphold and stop all this hate towards me, well, basically, in a nutshell, I don't want to dig up all this old hash or the old stuff, but what can you do when I got evidence of who caused all this stuff that happened to me? You hear about abuse in care homes in the United Kingdom, but you don't hear about what happens in people's own homes. And so all these years on, I got the evidence to rebut everything that was assumptions being made about my own private life character. And I did a counterclaim. And they ignored that, of course. And this went up to the LGSS, Quinton Baker. I don't know, I'm going to show this because handwritten, I know, but I know what LGSS, he was a lawyer. I don't know if he still works for them, but now there was, for this company, they're public servants at the time. Don't know if they still are. And 6th of October 2014, the LGSS and the reference number for the company house of the Hampshire County Council is UC041168. So this went to public servant, copy the invoice for the harm, the chief accountant, and because there was no breach, there was unlawful trespass of public servants, and there was absolutely in my lawful right to, again, they failed to produce documentation that went to the former Director, Adult Health Social Care, it was called then. It's rebranded a different department now. We've just rebranded everything. And yeah, so I tried everything before. Typed lawful documentation. Everything I'd done before was lawful. And so how can you trust people that... Put that down. How can you trust people that that's done so much already? And how can you move on? So this is where I'm coming from. How can you? I ain't got the issue trying to trust individuals, especially when they've done unlawful things to. So I know everything's well, I don't know if everything's changed, but the concern I have is, well, so much things you go through in life, and I don't want things to go back to a square where it used to be, just because there's cutbacks in the United Kingdom, and thousands like me are affected. Unfortunately, it's portraying like that in July 2018. So it put me at risk, and I do not consent to certain individuals doing this all over again. I don't want to hash up all the old stuff at all. They're not pushing me, but they're absolutely they're causing certain things. But you have to rebut everything that's being said about one non-factual. And if you don't rebut it in statute law and common law and contract law, it stands. And I've done all this already. And when you go through, when you rebut things already, and things are still happening, and it's all these years on, I would just like to think that people are now going to be honourable, but this doesn't seem to come across that way. And when they're going to say, "Oh, we don't believe things happen to you," like the disability hate crimes. You know, this has been going on for so long, and it's still going on, and nothing gets done about it. So when there's reports still written about you, and you've got all this paperwork as evidence that you try to hold people accountable, how can you just forget when so much has gone on? So I just like to think, I mean, I really, the stream I made earlier was just so factual. I mean, making up things about you and implying, you know, you got your document evidence, what's happened before, and they have reports, so you've experienced this before. So obviously, when they show your data now, a certain amount of data, there is character assassination on you. And how do you know the police ain't making up things on you now? Look, you go through the channels before and report things, and nothing gets done about it. And ever since those years ago, still things are happening and nothing gets done about it. You go through the right channels, and you know, whatever situation it may be, like the housing side I've been going through, and nothing gets done about it. And when you've got evidence of things that you've done to hold people accountable, and still nothing gets done about it, what then? So that's what the concern is now. I know I can't change the past, but I want to make sure this time round that they don't bloody keep doing what they're doing. So you see, none of these females over the years, I've had nice, for a period of years now, it's been very, they have done their utmost to aid me, my private life friends, and not harm me. And they're just pushing me on the state system the way it is now in UK, and thousands of people are going through a lot more difficulties. So, I don't know. You provide certain information. You provide just enough information. You need certain things to happen, and nothing happens. And you want to get your access to like operations and things you might need, and say dental, so I mean, so much goes on. And if individuals are going through certain personal problems, the pathways, I would have thought, are clear. And I know things change. There's psychological distress. And yet they're meant to be professionals in the job role, and yet they're not making sure that individuals in their own homes are safe. And these public servants are meant to specialise in personal care in their own home, but they're not. And they're preventing one to recover from traumas in their life. So surely there's a choice in self-determination, and nowadays especially, I would have thought, to promote well-being, promote so many key factors in statute law as well. And when nationally, I don't know what it is in other towns and cities, but my area is not happening from experience. So you're excluded. There's significant failures still going on, and the pushing. So, in the men and women in their professional role, they're pushing the process of Care Act 2014 statute law on disabled people is so quick that it is not appropriate, it's not lawful, and they're cutting corners, and it's causing harm to individuals at the end of the day. So this also is another concern. So where is that going to help the recovery of individuals already experienced harm before? And critically, especially nowadays in 2018, where everything else seems to be more of a stress factor situation, so many at the end of the day, to improve things now. That's what I'm looking at. When they call this, right, certain departments now in my area, early interventions. Well, how can they do early interventions when they haven't rectified what's happened before to support the individual on the road to recovery? And using the modern technology or modern whatever services available is meant to be your choice and promotes independence of the well-being of the individual. And whatever circumstances, I know everyone's got different circumstances, but this was already meant to be in the pathway, even back in 2000, well, quite a few years ago, put it that way. But it's not happening. So when you have individuals have problems with other sectors in the health, there needs to be a linked up process. Well, obviously, when one has certain phobias, mine is dental, and it's been going on for years. Well, you cannot recover from that side if you're not getting the key elements of your personal care. So dentophobia, it's because when you get the maxillofacial, certain individuals in the dental industry deliberately cause negligence and leave the bone left in your instead of take all the tooth out, they made a budge job of it and left it up in your gum. You get infections, reinfected the maxillofacial side of it all. You get referral there, and then you don't get the care you need, and you go round in circles with that. So key lovely buzzwords in statute law and what's meant to happen, how it's meant to happen. In reality, it does not. Unless you're very, very lucky to get the support one requires. And I'll just try and find a document. Yeah, so basically the IV sedation, the operation in 2011, they're refusing to do now under IV sedation. The guy that did it on my last operation under IV sedation in 2011 left the bones in. Didn't take it all out. And then he claimed to escape from his negligence, individual, he claims to unable to treat me under IV station as outpatient in the community specialist type dental service. And they're still doing this all these years on, 8 years on. And that's why I've been left out of. And that's it. So no matter what you do, it's like, oh my goodness me, it's still going on. So I had a assessment again, home visit again, recently on the side of meant to have had a letter of a hospital referral this time on, because last year they prescribed me for certain items and nobody told me how else I was meant to get them. So I've been buying my own stuff for my dental health. So it just dawned on me that nobody provided any further prescriptions. So, and it's been a few weeks now since I had that female visit me at my own. Before I had to go and see them. And this is quite a cross town for I live. So it's just one thing after another, these public servants in their job capacity role, and I don't know. Well, I'm going to just close it now. Time's getting on. The light. I don't know what's going on with this bloody weather today, but one thing for sure, that the individual's right to receive goods and services, no matter what it is, and in safeguarding and clear criteria and due processes, is meant to happen. Put it that way. So all I'm hearing is certain comments being raised, and certain things happening behind the scenes, which is proving to be so. Well, we're now July, aren't we? So it's been over 6 weeks. I've not had the letter of referral to hospital. So we'll just leave it at that for now. Thank you for joining, Princess Warrior. Hope you're doing well. And anybody else going through concerns and problems, whatever your subject may be, and you try and find a way around it. Not everyone working in the industry is negative, but unfortunately, I have to say, I'm not having a very good experience with people I'm dealing with at the moment. It's a shame, but that's the reality. So, take care, be safe, everyone out there. And I hope you find a remedy, whatever you need to do. Sorry about the bashing of the paperwork, but it's a bit warm and I need to just end it and switch off now. And I've done enough trying to get things sorted with certain things I need to do. Right. Take care. And look out for a Lady in America, Princess Warrior. Check your channel out.